the guy that starts.
Oh, that, yeah. Go ahead. Yep, you're good. Wow.
I actually did it.
Alrighty. This project is done. A lot of welding, a lot of cutting. Took us about 4 weeks, four and a half weeks to get all this done. Take all these ears off. These are the new ones. And we'll prep these tubes, put them on, tack them up, make sure everything is going to fit within tolerance. We actually had to get some specs from John Deere to be able to finish this. Look how big these tires are. It's freaking huge. Big old tires. Anyway, yeah, we're done. I just put in the last weld. 234 linear feet of welding. Everything is triple passed, 7018. Some look good, some don't. That's all right. She's gonna hold together just fine, I think. So we weren't messing with any of these back here. The ears on the back that hold the roller basket on, just the ones putting new hinges on both sides. Over there, and this guy. And then replacing all the front ears that carry the hitch attachment, or the tongue, and the main cutter bar. And those are the parts that get the bushings for the hinge. These go like that. So they're all done finally. Here's another little thing. So yes, these are it. So these right here are ESOBs 7018 called Adamark. And we usually run Excalibur Lincoln, 7018, 5P plus, stuff like that. You know, love the Excalibur stuff. It's really good. This is the first time I've used Adamark ESOB rods. I only bought it because they had a damaged can at the weld supply store, and I got a pretty good deal on it. I think the whole can cost me like 150 bucks for a 50-pounder can, so I was pretty happy. Usually you're spending about 200, 230 with a 50-pound of Excalibur, brand new, undamaged. But that's not what I pay for them. Regardless, these are junk. I'm not a huge fan of them. They stick too much. I played with the amperage. Still not a fan of them. And what I'm really not a fan of, I'll use a new one because they're junk. When you bend them, look at that. If that was Excalibur, that flux would not have come off. I'll do a slight bend to it too, so you guys can kind of see. Boom. Excalibur does more than that. Look at that. Excalibur will not do that. Excalibur, their flux will bend with the rod to a point. But Excalibur also won't do this. Now, granted, it is cold out. Like, not really. It's like 30 degrees. But yeah, absolute junk. I can't believe I wasted my money on these. Luckily, I didn't pay too much for them. But not a huge fan. Marco's not a huge fan of them either. Here's an Excalibur right here. Okay. Flux stays intact. It's cracked, but it stays intact. This is also a used rod. This rod's gotten heated up. See, you bend it and it stays intact. That's what I like about the Excalibur, and it strikes and it runs better. People say it's sticky, and usually when you hear a welder say they run a little bit sticky, it means that they're prone to sticking, and there's some chemistry involved there. The entirety of it, I don't know. I should know. It's probably something I need to look into. But just not impressed with them. Just not impressed with them. Maybe I got a bad batch, but I don't know. I feel like Lincoln has better consistency when it comes to their filler metals. And Hobart's okay. But I used to run Hobart when I first started. But it's just not something I really like running. Honestly, I think it's kind of junky. It's on the lower end. Now the XLM stuff is actually pretty decent. I've ran some of that. Washington Alloy has some really good rods too. Really impressed with the Washington Alloy rods. We used to run the Washington Alloy Flux Core, and we switched over to the Lindy house brand just because it was cheaper and it ran the same. And I think the Lindy house brand is actually Hobart, so I guess we do run some Hobart filler. Nothing against it, it's just I have my preferences, and honestly the Lincoln Inner Shield I think is the best flux core out there. I love Lincoln Inner Shield. We do run a lot of Harris wire too. Harris has some really, which is basically Lincoln stuff. Harris has got some really good 4043. But we've been running Lindy's house brand ProStar 4043, and honestly it burns just as great. A little bit cheaper, but not a whole lot more. If I had to pick, if I was only buying like a small box of like 5 or 6 of them, I'd probably go with the Lincoln stuff, depending on what I was working on. But if I was restocking for the year, I'd probably just get the Praxair stuff, or not Praxair, the ProStar stuff. It's like a couple dollars cheaper. Usually I'd like to buy that by the box. So alrighty guys, I'm going to go ahead and start packing up my truck and do my final walk around. Make sure I don't leave any tools. I did finally get some new 2097s for my respirator. We got a whole box of them. Like, we bought 60 last year, and we've been picking them off slowly as we go. I got this whole bucket right here is all tools that I use to fit. I got a scale and guide and everything, files, wedges, wrenches, squares, all kinds of stuff to use what we use to fit these. A lot of wedging, tapping, tacking, whacking, you name it. It's a lot of it. So here's a picture of the ears before we even started on this project. Figured I'd jump over to this. That green bar you see in those ears clamped in is a piece of hinge stock, and that's how we get them straight and level. There's some new ones ready to be welded on. These two green tubes are pieces of the hinge, and you can see how thick that is. I'd be pretty excited to see what kind of projects we can make out of that. I'm super happy to have this project done. A lot of resources went into doing it, and she's finally done. So yeah, that's a wrap. Figured I'd give you guys a little update. Have a good one.